Hello, hello. The Waiting for a few first viewers to show up. I have a communist flag in the background. Ah, it's so confusing. The camera's reversed. Yeah, there's a communist flag right there. That's just for a joke, really. I have this Santa hat, thinking this is like really suitable for this type of live stream. No, I don't have my regular camera with me or microphone, so I hope you guys can hear me because I'm streaming on my phone actually. So, like I said, I don't have my microphone with me. If you can't hear me properly, let me know in the comments. I'm visiting my family at the moment, so I just found some time to be alone by myself here, so we can chat and. Yes, hello to the first person in the chat. Feel free to say hello and yeah, let me know how you're spending your Christmas. So, because I have something important to say actually. At first, I didn't know if I wanted to do it on a live stream because fewer people are going to see it if it's on a live stream than if it's a video you're uploading. Hello, Susan. Uh, Hello from the US. Hello, how are you doing, Susan? Um, so yes, I was a bit worried about doing it on a live stream, but this is an update. I want to do on a live stream right now since I'm not really making video content on the topic of the transition, but I want to talk about the book, how it's going, and a bit of a research I am doing on this book and how even some people who are watching me here on YouTube who are trans or detrans can contribute to the research I'm doing. Oh, the book is going really well. I'm halfway through, maybe a bit more than that at this point. I am wrapping up Act Two. So I divided the whole thing into four different acts. Like they're all those four acts are sort of focusing on different parts of the journey, as well as they're tackling different sides of the trans subject as well, and transition in general. So I am wrapping up Act Two at the moment. Actually, I'm not writing right now. I took a little break from writing while I'm visiting my family, but I'll get back to writing as soon as I'm back home. For now, I sort of just want to enjoy myself this Christmas. So Act Three will be a little shorter than two, so I think I'm more than halfway through. And here's the thing. And oh, one thing I really, really want to talk about is how worried I am about some things while I'm writing this book. Like sort of a moral dilemma, really. Because, it's one thing to expose myself, and I'm sort of already talked about my experiences and my journey on YouTube and in the documentary and articles and so on. So that's not an issue for me. However, this book is not just about me. There's some context there that just wouldn't make sense if it was just me because I didn't grow up alone. I grew up in a family with parents and grandparents, and of course, part of my journey towards transition. Ivy Dark asks, "Is that a Soviet flag?" Yes, it is. which way should I move my head? I don't know. That the camera on my phone is mirrored, so I'm really confused right now. But yes, it's a Soviet flag. It's a joke. Not a communist by any means. Actually, I have no sympathy for the Soviet flag whatsoever. Really. Um, so yes, there's this. Oh, there you can see it now. The Soviet flag. So yes, I'm like really worried because how much should I say, right? If I choose to omit certain things, it just wouldn't make sense. There's a context missing there. However, if I choose to say those things, I am talking publicly about my family, really. And for now, I'm just writing down everything, but I don't know how much of that I will actually include. And I guess I'll just have to talk with them whether I get their permission. Really, I think maybe it will be disrespectful to attempt to publish something like that without them actually knowing about it. Um, I don't know. At the end of the day, it is my decision to make, of course. But if there's any of you watching this who have some advice or any thoughts on this, I would really love to hear it because I'm sort of battling myself with those ideas of whether I should do that or not. Now, the work process itself is really going along. Like I said, the first draft is more than halfway completed. What I'm worried more about is actually writing the second draft because I'll have to shorten a lot of it. I think the first draft will be more than 200,000 words, something like that. It's a pretty long book, and it will be practically impossible to find any publisher who would be willing to publish something that long. And there are also fewer readers who would be interested in reading something that long. I mean, we're talking 200,000 words or more. Uh, so that would be a painful process to choose what to remove from it, what to keep. And part of it really is just restructuring your sentences so they're shorter. And there are certain things you can say in one sentence that you otherwise said in three, of course. But even when I do that, there will still be there's things that you have to sort of remove. Kill your darlings. And I don't want the entirety of this book to be just like super serious and about the serious stuff. I think there are like some funny stories there that I think are just so charming, really, and nostalgic and funny to me. Like stuff from my childhood experiences, stuff like that. Because it's my life is not all doom and gloom, and I think it's important to have those parts there too. They sort of balance out the pain in a way. But now, the most important thing, and I think I will edit this part of the live stream and upload it as a separate video on YouTube so more people see it. if you are uh, if you are a trans person or detransitioner, or you have any experience with detransition or transition, or you're in the process of transition or detransition at the moment, uh, you feel free to contact me, because here's what I'm doing. I am conducting interviews with people, both trans people and detransitioners, and even some people who have worked with trans people and detransitioners. And if you have that sort of experience, yeah, feel free to contact me. What I usually do is I ask people a set of questions and sometimes follow-up questions to those, and we can do those either on a video, an audio call, or through an email exchange, depending really what you prefer. It's up to you. And what's the purpose of that? So with this book, I am attempting at writing or coming to sort of a solution to how exactly can we differentiate when the transition is not a right solution for someone, when it is the right solution, and when the solution lies somewhere in the middle, really. And I think the answer is there. I think this sort of study I'm doing by talking with individuals, so we can look for certain traits, look for certain signs. Uh, and the best way to come to that sort of solution is by talking to people. And so far, I have had some interviews that were very interesting, and I'm especially interested in those cases where someone transitions for different reasons than identifying as the opposite sex, and they're still satisfied with the results they got somehow. It's really fascinating. So uh, parts of those interviews, if I get the permission from the person I'm interviewing, would be actually included in the book, like some of the things you said to me. So it's almost sort of like a documentary of sorts. Not all of it will be used, just some parts, but all of it might be used for study, of course. So if you wish to contribute to that, no matter where you stand, and I'm looking really for all kinds of people. Uh, I'm looking for detransitioners who are angry about it. I'm looking for the detransitioners who support the trans movement. I'm looking for trans people who fall into a more conservative category, but I'm also looking for like very progressive, liberal trans people as well, because I think it's important to have this wide spectrum of backgrounds and opinions. Really, and compare those results. So really, if you're interested in participating, if you wish to help me with this research, feel free to send me an email. It's in the description of my channel, and hopefully we'll have uh, good cooperation. I can't promise I will reward you. We'll see. Some small percentage of the overall income I will make from the book, I might actually give it to the people who have participated, who have helped me. But no promises, really. We'll see how it goes. However, it's up to you whether you want to choose your name, whether you want to be anonymous or anything like that. So, okay, done with that. Now, let me know in the comments, because I really wanted the rest of this live stream to be sort of Christmas themes. So those of you who are watching, and I imagine a lot of my viewers are from US and UK, and I'm sort of familiar with the Christmas traditions in those countries. But if there's anyone from other country than US or UK, I would love to know how you spend your Christmas. And if you're from US or UK too, please go ahead. Uh, and what you eat for Christmas. 'Cause I'm a foodie, you know. Sorry, I'm still a little sick. Really been sick for a long time. So yeah, I love cooking and stuff like that. Really. I don't think this live stream's gonna be long, because I'm with my family. I was just able to find a little bit of time for myself, really. So I'm just here, but I'll have to go to them, and we'll watch something. Um, Transwitter asks, do they still make Krumkake in Norway? I grew up with all the Norwegian cookies in my Wisconsin childhood. My mother's side, all from Norway. Yes, they do. They do actually. It's not my favorite, but yeah, I think it's good. There's out of all like Norwegian cake, I think the carrot cake is my favorite. Absolutely my favorite. But actually, I will be making a cake tomorrow. It's a Japanese black sesame cake. Sandbakkelse. Um, not familiar with that. I'm sorry, but I'll have to look it up after this live stream. I would love to find out what that is. So let me just note it down. When did you live in Norway, or were you born in US? Almond cookies baked in little forms. I don't think I ever tried that actually. So I imagine it's still a thing because I don't think transitions traditions I don't think traditions disappear just like that. So I think it's probably still a thing. Maybe not as popular, or maybe I've been living under the stone, which could be the case. I was born in US. My great grandparents came from island of Utsira in 1890s. Okay, okay. It's still interesting to have Norwegian backgrounds. I guess I know there's a lot of Americans who have Norwegian background um, for some reason, and there's been like a wave of immigration from Norway to US in the past, and a lot of Norwegians I've met here in Norway have lived in US in their childhood and then moved back to Norway eventually. So that's pretty interesting that there is this connection there like that. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah. So my favorite, my favorite Christmas food, and actually, here's the thing, right? Because I have such a mixed background, really, with my family being from Poland. And we live in Norway, and I also feel some close connection to UK. I really eat a little bit of everything when it comes to like Christmas food. So there's a bit of like um, Polish, Norwegian, and British there. But I'm a big fan of pigs in blankets, uh, which is I found out recently from someone that in US it's more like a picnic food. Apparently, I don't know. Correct me. Could it be that the American who told me that has been wrong about it? But I don't know. Just heard that it's more of a picnic food, whereas in the UK it's sort of a Christmassy thing. But I eat pigs in blankets without bacon, so they're technically not in the blanket. Uh, because I don't like bacon, never liked bacon, and I haven't been eating pork for quite a long time now. Trans Widow Hagen says the big immigration was 1890s and eight, and we meant 1890s or 1880s and 1890s. Some of the mountainous regions lost 80% of their population just north of Oslo, Setesdal, for example. One food for Norwegian Americans, one food the Norwegian Americans eat nostalgically is lutefisk. I could not stomach it, caught, preserved, and lied and soaked. You're not the only one, because I can't stomach it either. Actually, to be completely honest. And the thing is, I love fish really. All sorts of fish, just not this one. This is sort of an exception to the rule, really. Not exactly my type of thing. No. Mm. Another thing I've noticed that is interesting to me when it comes to like the difference between the Polish and Norwegian Christmas is that um, in Poland fish is Christmas food, whereas in Norway fish is more like an everyday food. Although that's not exactly true because they eat fish in Poland quite a lot too, but it has like this special place for Christmas. My mother loved it in Lepse with melted butter. Never tried that. Maybe it tastes better with butter, sort of like Marmite, Vegemite. It tastes better with butter. But then I like Vegemite actually. Marmite. It's sort of a love it or hate it type of thing. Um, this might be due to more Catholics in Poland. Oh, I'm really, really bad when it comes to Catholicism. My knowledge of Catholicism is not that good, so I don't know if fish any significance for Catholics. I know that and this is something I should have known because I remember learning it at school, um, probably in third grade or something like that, maybe fourth. And then fish is also a symbol of Jesus Christ or a symbol of Christianity. So I don't know if fish has that significance for Christmas because of that. I'm not sure. Uh, I was in Norway in summer of 1975 and swam in a fjord so cold. Um, oh, you should try it in like late winter, early spring. It's sort of a tradition here almost to like swim while the water is still cold. But yeah, water is pretty cold here. Although um, I use my parents' outside jacuzzi more often than actually swimming in a fjord, and that water is pretty hot actually. So and when we talk about the temperature, not the attractiveness. I don't even know what you call a person who's attracted to water. Well, if someone's like afraid of water, you call them hydrophobic. So I guess that would be like hydrosexual or something like that. My Norwegian second cousins were laughing up their sleeves. Catholics usually eat fish on Christmas, sometimes also oysters, others shellfish. Oh, I I lived in Poland for like 16 years of my life. So actually, well, yeah, 15. I've spent 15 Christmases in Poland. I can't remember that we ate any oysters or shellfish, but maybe some other families that are in Poland, or maybe they do it in other countries. I'm not sure, really, but that's interesting. Interesting to know. I know that a lot of people in my family hate seafood. Me and my parents are actually an exception. But like everyone else, like my dad's family and my mom's family, not really into seafood. So I guess we made a good choice when we moved to Norway. Really, um, I was in Poland in summer of 1980. Wow, that's nice. I wasn't even born at that time. So, but I've heard. a lot of stories of what Poland was like back then, when it was still under the Soviet Union, which we have right here somewhere behind me, the flag. Where did you live in Poland? So all the way up north and all the way to the west, uh, the Polish-German border, and all the way to the Baltic Sea, um, with like easy access to the boats to go to Sweden. So I also had some family in Sweden, so always like in between the two. So I always had some connection to Scandinavia. Actually, um, August 23, the strike started. Yeah, we had to walk to the airport. That was the day of our flight home. Those were scary times, really. Uh, sorry, like I said, I'm still a little sick. I visited Gdansk. I've been there actually, two times. One when I was 9, and once when I was 11. Well, there was Gdansk and Sopot. Those two cities are like next to each other. Although I remember when I was 9, what I really cared about, the only thing I cared about there is just going to the zoo and watching animals. That was like all there was to it. Yeah, early 1980s in Poland. Scary times, strikes, riots. My grandpa actually participated, and he's been fighting on the commies actively around that time, and that's the thing, right? Uh, Huge amount of people who were fighting against the Soviets, the communists in Poland were workers, actually, right? Organized workers, like this authoritarian left in Poland. It wasn't abolished by the right wing by any means, right? It was the organized left wing workers, really. Um, they searched our suitcases very severely at the airport that August day. They didn't confiscate anything. What do you think about current day Poland? What do I think of the current day Poland? So I'm not completely updated on everything that's going on there. I know a little bit. I know more about Poland culturally, if anything, less so politically, really, or economically. I would say I think things are changing. In some ways, at least with young people. Um, I've noticed, when I left Poland in 2009, I hate using the camera on my phone because I always hold it so that I'm not in the center of the screen. Um, Poland was sort of culturally isolated when I left Poland in 2009. It was sort of its own thing in its own bubble. Now, more people are speaking English, from what I've noticed. Younger people, uh, especially. You get more products, food products from other countries that would be completely unimaginable to see there back then. So, when I went down to Poland, you see you have some products from like Turkey and Japan and stuff like that. I was honestly surprised because I wasn't expecting that. Because I remember Poland as being this sort of isolated place that lives in its own uh, bubble. As for the economy, uh, it sucks right now, but it it was like that as well when we moved out, right? And now it's sort of like economy is bad, absolutely everywhere, really. Like it's much worse in Norway than it was a couple of years ago. No doubt, no doubt. Klaus Clever asks, "What's up?" The ceiling, the ceiling. Was a pretty good. Talking about Poland right now apparently, and I used to talk about Christmas food, and I did a bit of an update on the book I'm writing. Uh, Widow asks, were there shortages when you grew up in Poland? In 1980, we had to take a train from Krakow to Nowa Huta to get toilet paper. No, not when I was growing up, because I was born after the fall of the Berlin Wall, and after the fall of the Soviet Union. So I think Poland was sort of rebuilding itself up from its own crumbles, really. It wasn't the best situation, really, but it was sort of, yeah, it was definitely developing. So no, no shortages. I don't really remember times where there were like food shortages or toilet paper shortages or anything like that. But my parents remember that. You at a certain limit to what you can buy in a month, right? I mean, you don't get more communist than that. No, actually, well, no, sorry, you do. That's called North Korea. But yes, like absolute limits to what you can buy, right? Like it's the government that decides that. So this is how much butter or milk you can buy this month, and if you're lucky, well, you might be able to buy one chocolate product for your kid, or something like that, which is yeah, it sucks. And sometimes, like, yeah, at Christmas you could find things like oranges and stuff like that, but usually it just wasn't available. There was nothing on the shelves a lot of the time in the stores. I'm glad. I'm really happy that I didn't have to live through that. But then again, it's also an interesting experience at the same time. And but yeah, I guess it's better not living through it and having that experience. But I think at least having awareness and the knowledge of that is of importance. And we as in Polish people, happen to live through. Well, we experienced a lot of evil, coming both from the Nazis and the communists. And I think, just really being aware of this type of authoritarian forces is really, really important. I just think it's so important to remember your history and having the sort of awareness. But, people will continue to make a lot of the same mistakes, unfortunately. We rented bicycles for dollars and tootled around outside Krakow. The tools to fix the flat didn't match the bikes. Poland suffered greatly from the superpowers on both sides. Yes, and even before that, right? Like Poland wasn't even on the map before that, so we were sort of uh, always oppressed by some other country. But I think it really strengthened Polish people character, and I see it a lot of the time. And I don't know if I can say it about myself. Really, I don't consider myself to be that. I don't know. Maybe some other people think of me that way, but I see a lot of Polish people as very independent and strong in a way, um, and have this I can do everything by myself. I can fix everything by myself attitude. Um, and actually, one thing that I think was one of the biggest cultural shocks for me moving from Poland to Norway. And I talk actually a little bit about it in the book. I don't know if it will be included in the final draft, but I thought it was really interesting to include. Is that uh, Poland is a country where people really don't trust their government, right? And I think U.S. is definitely moving in that direction right now. It has been doing so in the last few years, or maybe even before that. But yeah, for the right reasons too, I think. But yeah, Polish people never like trusted the government, like the politicians. So I always grew up with this sort of almost cultural attitude, like to just not trust the government. And it makes sense that a lot of anarchists are from Eastern Europe, really. But it was a big shock for me when you come to Norway and people are just so trusting towards the politicians and the government. Like if the government said, "Take off your pants, bend over, so we can fuck you in the ass," I swear, like 60% of the population would actually do that. There's every time if the government in Norway does something that could be considered wrong, unethical, or just badly thought through, there will be a lot of people who would excuse that. Like, yeah, but they know what they're doing, and it must be for a reason, right? Always like there's excuses, and this trusting nature of Norwegian people was sort of like uh, shocking to me, just like how much love there is for a government. But I think that is changing too. I think people have sort of less love for the government here in Norway right now than they did when I first moved in here. But it's still there, and in a way, I get it because in some ways the Norwegian government hasn't really been the worst in the world, actually. So they also did work to gain this sort of trust of people. But I think that's a dangerous tool, really, because it might all just be lies. Um, I'm just going back and read some comments here. Polish Americans feel a strong connection to the mother country. They used to send dollars to special accounts for their cousins left in Poland. Oh, that's really, really sweet. Do you have any cousins in America? No, not really. I had some online friends from America, and I've met some Americans here in Norway, but no family. However, I do have some family in UK. Uh, two cousins in the UK actually. Is there any sense of fear of Russia now in Norway? You know, I was thinking perhaps there should be. So there's a nuclear threat right now, but from what I noticed, people don't really talk about it. Really, um, people go on about their lives. And one thing I really noticed is that maybe people are just tired of all of this. Like yes, this war keeps going on, but perhaps we're desensitized in a way, like we're just tired of this shit. I think people are starting to come to this conclusion that war is really nonsense. It's just rich people fighting their wars who are sending poor people to die for them. And at its core lies a human nature when it comes to power and violence, really. And well, here's a good question: will we ever like rise above that? I think that can only be achieved by actually changing the core of our nature, which we actually need technological solutions to do that. Because I don't think peace in the world can be achieved through political means. Maybe temporarily so, and that has worked in the past, but for how long? Eventually, we always end up with a weapon conflict eventually, and more people will die each time. Did you know Norway was neutral in World War I and had no standing army? Yes, I did know that actually, and also in World War II, Germany was actually occupying Norway as well, but not really invading though. We or Norway wasn't at war with Germany, but yeah, our country here was occupied. So it's really interesting for me to see those old pictures of the streets of Oslo, where like Nazi soldiers uh, on the streets that I have walked on so many times. That's like wow. Um, was it difficult to learn Norwegian when you came there as a teen? Um, was it difficult? You know, not necessarily. I think after like half a year, I was speaking more or less, not fluently by any means. I still had a long way to go, but yeah, I could communicate with people after like half a year of learning, and I think a lot. You do a lot of progress in the first 3 years, and after that it slows down, which is natural, really. I think is the same with me with guitar. You make a lot of progress in those first 3 years when you're playing guitar, and then after that it sort of slows down, almost flattens, really. Or yeah, well, it doesn't really flatten, but you don't notice the progress until a lot of time has passed, and then you look back 5 years. I was like, you know what? I think like my Norwegian has improved in the last 5 years, or my guitar playing skills have improved in the last 5 years. But you don't really notice it from like month to month. But it was those 3 years, you notice like a constant progress from month to month when you're learning. I think it definitely helped that I had to move in here, because when you move into a different country, you're sort of forced to interact with that language, right? So it's easier than if you're learning it at home in your own country, where you don't really have to interact with that language on a daily basis. So that's definitely helped. Um, but I didn't find it that difficult because there are some similarities between English and Norwegian. Actually, a lot of words are very similar. Their pronunciation is very different. Um, in many ways, I actually find the Norwegian pronunciation to be easier. Um, I also knew some German, right? And I also touched a bit on the Swedish before coming to Norway. Like I said, I also have some family in Sweden. So no, it wasn't really that difficult. But I, actually, I've been learning Japanese for the last half a year or so, and I find the progress to be much slower than it was with Norwegian. I don't know if it was because I was way younger back then, and it's just easier to learn new stuff when you're a teenager. Although I don't know, I always keep my brain active. I'm always learning new things, so I don't think that's the issue. really. I think it's the fact that at that time, learning a language was my full-time job, really, because I couldn't go to school until I learned the language. So I was just going to a language course and just learning the language. That's your full-time job. If you're treating uh, that type of learning as your full-time job, you're going to learn really quick. Um, but as I'm learning Japanese right now, I would like, yeah, do 3 hours in a week, and that's just not enough to see that type of progress that fast. Uh, Max Manus was the great Norwegian resistance fighter. I love the film about him and his group. Yes, absolutely. I remember actually when this film came out. The film about Max Manus, Norwegian film. I think was that 2010 or 11. I think I was like living in Norway for 1 year or something like that when this film came out. It was a big hit, one of the best Norwegian films, and yes, no, a like you said, a great resistance fighter, absolutely. Um, did you learn English from an early age? Fairly early, yes. In my childhood, actually, and perhaps because my brain was still like a sponge that was like absorbing absolutely everything. But I learned English just by listening to like films and video games, really. And it's sort of similar to how you are listening to your parents and your family talking to you when you're a baby, and you're catching up on that. Like, okay, those sounds they're making, they're sort of making sense. I'm getting sense out of it. And when I was like 4, 5, I think I started to make like some sense out of English just by watching it on the telly. And another thing is, I used to spend a lot of time at my grandparents' place, and they had this cable, so they had like channels that they were paying for, and one of them was Cartoon Network, but it was in English. So we didn't have Cartoon Network in Polish; it was in English. And at that time, that particular channel was playing a lot of like cartoons, like the old classic cartoons. Adam's Family, Scooby Doo, Flintstones, stuff like that. And I was just watching that, listening to that as a little kid in English, and just like that, those things they said were like starting to make some sense, and the sentences just like started to form, sort of. So that's how I learned English before I actually learned it at school. We weren't actually learning English at school back then. Kids these days in Poland actually learn English at school. We were learning German, really, and I don't remember as much of German as I do English. I know some German, but not enough to have a proper conversation. But yeah, I can understand some of German. Um, what's the title of your book? Um, so I'm thinking, should I reveal it, or is it too early? Or yeah, you know what? Actually, it might be that the title is going to change. So why the hell not? Because I have a couple of ideas, really. Uh, Maybe I'll use one of them, maybe not. Maybe that will change eventually. So uh, one of them that I have, and I actually really, really like this one, is Men to Woman and Back Again. Sorry. No. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Sorry, that was my mom. Um, Oh, that was my mom right there. She said that I have uh, a flag in the background. It's on the live stream. She's probably watching there. Okay. where was I? Yes. So the title, one of the working titles right now is "Men to Woman and Back Again," and I don't know if I will go with the title eventually, but I think it's sort of catchy. It's a bit of a play on uh, "There and Back Again." Tolkien, Hobbit. I don't know. Do you like the title? Let me know. Maybe it's a really really horrible title or something like that. Another idea I had was the transition journey, but there's a documentary called the Transition Journals. So I think that's way too similar, and I don't think it's that original. So I don't know. I really like Man to Woman and Back Again. Uh, a catchy title is useful. I think so. Yes. If I'll think of anything more catchy than that, I'll go with that probably. You know, something that really catches the attention of the reader. Actually, well, it's so weird to think about because half a year ago I was just like in the starting phase of writing this. I remember when I read the first 10 pages. Now I'm like 112, almost 120 words, thousand words in at this point, and some parts of it are hard to write, honestly, because I'm reliving this parts of my life, parts of my experience that in much bigger detail than I ever did on YouTube, really. Um, I favor the first over the second. Would you consider putting woman in quotes? Woman. Um, I don't know really. That could be an idea. I don't know. I mean, I think in many ways, I think that terms like men and women in general could be in quotes, like quotations marks. I think in many ways those are concepts, really. I think stuff like male and female is more tangible, right? And I definitely never was a female by any means. But yeah, no, I think that a lot of the time, I think that things like man and woman are just concepts. Like, uh, did I like sort of the transition because um, I identify as a man again, or is it because I'm just biologically male and I never actually transitioned? I was just always me, right? There was never anything wrong with my body. Uh, or put a woman into italics or different fonts. Maybe. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I don't know really. At the same time, also I want this book to be accessible to people who are in their transition process, considering to transition, who are trans or who might maybe detransition in the future. And I think that by doing that, I'm also sort of alienating part of the audience that I want to reach, really, because I think I think it's important for trans people to read this book as well, uh, because I think it's good to know. Well, what if I detransition? What sort of opportunities do I have? What will my journey look like? How can I know if this is the right choice for me? Stuff like that. And uh, I'm not going for this sort of aggressive criticism of gender ideology in this book. There's enough stuff on that, and that's just not what I want to do, and that is also not what I have been doing on my channel for a long time. So, subtitle cautionary tale. As a subtitle, probably would be nice. Well, maybe ID transition journey could be a subtitle. But I don't know. I was considering the transition journey before that, but then when I started like settling for um, Men to Woman and back again, I sort of changed my mind on that. Um, but oh, another thing I can reveal is, so for now, maybe it will change, but so there are like two types of chapters in this book, right? One type of chapters that are autobiographical, there's sort of like a memoir, and then there are those chapters that are more theoretical and philosophical on the subject of transition and detransition, and as well as like human sex and gender. And those chapters that are narrative, that focus on my journey from my life, every chapter of this type is named after a song or an album, because music has always been a big part of my life. And I also sometimes in this book I will just write things like, oh, this is what I used to listen to around that time. I don't know if it'll be in a final draft, but I include that for now because it's really fun. And yeah, I named all those chapters after like different songs, everything from like rock to pop music to metal. um do you blame the doctors? I do. The doctor started going to the law, declaring, for example, in 1996 that my husband was now legally female after he did surgery. This led to his claim he's a mother. Um, well, here's the thing, right? Uh, a lot of the time, if someone like me in any way suggests that it's not all just my fault, we get judged for that, right? Like we get a lot of shit if you say that. You're being told like, oh, you're just blaming others. You're not taking responsibility for your actions. And you know that I mean that's just bullshit. Really, I'm sick and tired of that. And I put a lot of this frustration of that in this book because it's not all our fault, especially when it comes to uh, young, vulnerable people who are being exploited in this way or who are not getting the help that they need. And but at the same time, I also think that there's a little bit of my own fault in it too. I cannot say that I am without blame by any means. I think it lies somewhere in the middle, and I think it's important to acknowledge that. You know, yes, I made a mistake, and that's on me, and that is something you have to live with. But it's not all your fault, really. That's a great idea for chapters. I had month by month chapters in my memoir. Um, I've read a couple of memoirs that were written like that, and even some fictional books, novels that were written like that, sort of like a journal, like month entries in it, and a year. Um, but what I find difficult about this is sort of times differentiating between those chapters when they have titles that are so similar. Um, the doctors all have extreme conflicts of interest: financial, intellectual, political, also a disrespect of what being a woman is. Yeah, I think a lot of the doctors are ideologically involved in it, or they see the dollar sign in it. But a also think there's a lot of doctors who just go with what they're being told, what the mainstream view is really. And I think it's important to sort of see it from different perspectives. And um, I think we need doctors uh, who are to some degree able to relate to both detransitioners and trans people's struggles. Really. I don't think it is fair to blame the patient as you were in crisis. Even my ex-husband, I don't blame him entirely, though he feigned me and treated me terribly. Mm, I don't know. I spend a big portion of my life blaming myself. Really. I mean, I don't anymore because I don't think that's healthy. But I admit that it was also my own decision to make. And in a way, it wasn't all bad, really. I think that there are certain lessons I took from this journey that I learned from, and they made me the person I am today, right? And yeah, sure, that like there are some things I regret, some things I wouldn't have done, like this the surgery, for instance. I think that there's definitely a lot to blame or can put on the doctors there, but I certainly benefited from removing testosterone from my bloodstream because me and testosterone we just don't really get along very well, and I think I think it's really important that people to realize that some people might have some benefit from HRT or the so-called gender medicine without actually uh, transitioning. You don't have to go like, oh, now I'm the opposite sex, right? Because I want this type of treatment. And no, but yeah, I did benefited from the lack of testosterone in many ways. I found it really hard to live with it, and even when I went on testosterone as an adult after my detransition, I couldn't take it honestly. Like the sex drive, it just drives me crazy. I think more clearly without it. But the promises the doctors make are false. A woman's vagina is the birth canal, and they can't manufacture that for plastic surgery. Yeah, well, I think it really depends on what exactly it is the doctor saying. I don't think they should be calling it a vagina, to be honest, because it's not. And you're, I think you're deluding yourself if you think that this is what you're getting. It's an imitation of sorts, but it's not a vagina. But I think there's also those trans people who realize what they are getting, and the doctors who are informing their patients. But I think a lot of the time they actually don't, and that's a problem. Nobody actually had that conversation with me back then. Did they measure your T level before the surgery? Not before the surgery. I mean, I had my blood tests done, so right, so but that was when I was already on estrogen. But before I went on HRT, I had my testosterone level checked. So I had it within the normal range, but like the lower end of the normal range. So I had, yeah, relatively low, but not, but can't be considered too low. And I still find it uh, pretty hard to live with because I suffered from sort of hypersexuality or hyperactive libido. And I experienced it again when I went on testosterone a couple of years ago. So I'm like I said, I'm better without it. Did you describe your problems with tea at that age? Um, no, mostly because I felt a lot of shame around it, and sort of growing up in a Catholic culture, it's really not surprising, when you're being told that. that is evil, what you're doing is wrong, it's a sin, it's not something you want to reveal. So it sort of felt like an easy way out, just not talk about it. And I used to think that um, women don't have those types of urges, women are not sexual. So I viewed transition as sort of a way to go back to my childhood, in a way to get rid of that libido. Uh, my ex-husband had low T according to the endocrinologist. I think he was gay actually. There were some incidents. Um, no, I was thinking sometimes whether there is a correlation between lower T levels and homosexuality. Uh, wow, women are actually very sexual when young. Yeah, I realized that, but it took me a long time to realize that. But I think a part of it is sort of what we learned at school when I don't know when we had those sex ed classes. I think I was 13, I believe. Uh, basically, what we learned is that men are sex crazed maniacs who just think about sex 24/7, whereas women couldn't care less. They just want to hold hands. And there are differences why women and men hold hands. Women do it because they want to feel connected, whereas men do it because it gets them aroused. And that's just such generalized bullshit, because both men and women do it for different reasons, really. This was in Polish public school. Yeah, yeah, I went to Polish public school until, well, we moved out of Poland. Yeah, I'm going more into detail on that in this book as well. This upbringing and this struggle with sexuality and that guilt that comes with it. That guilt was a huge part of my journey towards transition. Oh shit! So my thumb went completely numb because I was holding my phone with my thumb, and I just realized I went completely numb. So I had to change the position. Biscuits tea. Hi, are you from Norway? From Poland, actually, but I have been living in Norway for 16, almost 16 years now. So like half my life. I spent half my life in Poland and half my life in Norway. Um, this part about school and the sex ed is important and will help others. Yes, actually, you know, um, I have to sort of go back to one question I've been asked here on this live stream earlier on about how much Poland has changed since I moved out of there. Um, this is actually something I'm really curious about, whether they actually still have this very strict conservative mindset towards sex ed as they used to. I'll have to talk to some people and ask around because I'm curious about it. Yeah, I mean, the thing about sex ed, right, is that it's hard to find a balance how you're supposed to teach it, right? Because it's sort of it's very ideological a lot of the time, and you either teach kids to be ashamed of their bodies and their sexuality if you go too far into this conservative religious area. And if you go all the way back, you might teach them stuff like, oh, do whatever you want. There's no repercussion, there's no consequences, just fuck around. And the truth is that, that too has negative effects on your mental health and on your physical health. I mean, here's the thing: a lot of the time they teach kids about STDs, right, sexually transmitted diseases, but a lot of the time, sex ed, you don't really learn about the psychological effects of sexual intimacy, right? Uh, uh, um, in communist Poland, they didn't seem to have birth control, and there were so many abortions. Odd for a Catholic country. Yeah, I mean, I think lack of birth control um, is causing a lot of abortions, or education about preventive measures and birth control. Um, and those abortions a lot of the time obtained illegally in other countries. Um, in that Polish school, were boys and girls separated for the sex ed? At first, I think it's from the seventh grade that we started to have those together. Biscuit tea asks, how old were you when you started to transition, and how old were you when you understood it was a mistake? I am 17 years old from Turkey, and I started to take hormones 2 days ago illegally. Thank you for sharing. Uh, I was so depends what you mean by transition. Actually, I started both my medical and social transition when I was 19. Although I was first, I became like sure that this is what I wanted to do when I was 16. So 3 years before I actually transitioned. Although considering how easy it was to get hormones from that particular doctor I went to, it might have as well have been obtained illegally. So no judgment from my side, really. I'm not judging anyone who obtains hormones illegally, especially when the system makes it so hard to get access, or when the system and the gatekeeping is so strict, where trans people feel like they have to lie to the healthcare providers to get access to the hormones. And I think that that type of system where trans people are lying because of that can create more transition regret and more detransitions. Um, the rest of the question was, how old were you when you understood it was a mistake? Um, it was a gradual process, but it was when I was 21, after my bottom surgery. But that was just regarding the surgery. I know that that was the right mistake. As for the hormonal transition, HRT, and social transition, that was a process that overall took me like 2 years. Uh, when I was just like slowly moving into accepting myself as a man. I can't convince myself to stop this. Um. Okay. Here's the thing, and my point is not to like give you an advice like, oh, this is what you have to do. However, if you want to, and I think you should, maybe you can ask yourself, do you want to stop? You say you can't convince yourself to stop this, and that implies that you have maybe at least tried or want to try. So, do you have a reason why you think that you should convince yourself to stop this? Because a doubt is a healthy thing, really. I think, and a doubt is not doesn't necessarily mean that you're making the wrong decision. It doesn't mean that you're making the right decision either. But usually, I'm most skeptical towards things that never doubt any decisions they make in their life. Trans Widow says, I'm going to say bye now and let you talk to Biscuit. Okay, so have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I hope you have a good time, really, and thank you for stopping by for this live stream. It was lovely answering all your questions. Take care. Uh, yes, so like I said, I think it's a good idea to ask yourself if you should stop yourself. Why do you want to stop? Uh, I have been thinking about transitioning since I was 12 years old, and every day I thought about it. Um, Yeah, if it was like that for me, so not since I was 12. I think I had some first thoughts about it around the time, but it didn't become like an everyday thing until I was 16. But I think, after you start thinking about it seriously, it can sort of really, really occupy your mind. In a way, it's sort of like falling in love, right? When you're waking up and you're thinking about that person. You go to sleep and you think about that person, and it's sort of the same with this idea of wanting to transition. It's sort of similar to being in love, and in many ways both can also cause some level of emotional pain. Uh, you say 12. It's like quite early, not very early, but also not very late. Around the time when puberty starts, makes sense. A lot of people describe it that their ideas about transitioning, or their desires to transition, starts around the time they hit their puberty. But lately I am thinking my whole life will be dependent on medicine, and I started to think such as I don't have to live as a boy suitable to society's dogma. You know, those were also some of my earliest ideas about transitioning. Like, yeah, not wanting to be dependent on medicine, and so my solution to that is like, if I have the bottom surgery, at least I don't have to take the testosterone blockers, right? So it's overall better for my liver long term to have the surgery. Um, I'm just saying that if you have an idea like that, don't listen to that voice. Actually, if you go for the surgery, you will be more dependent on medicine than you were before that. Um, I started things such as I don't have to live as a boy suitable to society's dogma. So are you transitioning to live as a trans man or as a trans woman? Because when it comes to those expectations regarding the societal gender roles, uh, you know, no matter which side you're on, you will experience that. And well, speaking from my own experience, I have experienced it both living as a guy and as a trans woman for a while, that people treat you a certain way based on what they perceive you as. They have those expectations towards you. And in the end, you might, but you don't have to, but you might feel like, well, I don't fall into either of those categories, right? So eventually, at first, when I transitioned, I was like so happy that, oh shit, I don't have to pretend who I am, like uh, I can finally escape those expectations of what am I supposed to be like as a guy. And then, I was living as a trans girl, and there's a whole new set of cultural expectations towards you, and I wasn't fitting those either. And it makes, I think it makes me understand why people identify as non-binary. Even, I um, at the end of the day, I think that uh, femininity and masculinity is a spectrum, but I can understand that, right? If you don't really fit into those categories, uh, there isn't a possibility I can go to a surgery. I lived in Turkey. Yeah, uh, that makes sense. I imagine that is also part of the reason why you chose to obtain hormones illegally. Is it possible to transition medically at all in Turkey? uh, legally, because I'm a little curious about that actually. Because I just realized I'm not that knowledgeable on on transition in Turkey. I know that well, in Iran you can transition legally, but you can't actually live as a homosexual. So a lot of homosexuals are choosing to transition to avoid prison. It is possible when you are over 18. Okay, so you chose to obtain HRT before the age of 18. Am I understanding this correctly? Or in Iran, on if only your father allows you transition. Okay, because I think a lot of people do that, right? Obtaining hormones illegally, um, before they're 18, and it's sort of an act of desperation, right? And I understand that act of desperation because uh, I was there, and a lot of it, for me at least, was this fear that if I transition too late, I won't achieve good results, right? Like I won't be able to fit in with society and sort of be read as a woman. I started HRT 2 days ago, went to pharmacy and got the hormones, but I got impacted from almost all side effects. Um, you know, 2 days is very early for side effects to hit you. I'm not saying it's not possible. It is, but that is usually if you're having an very very strong reaction to the medicine, such as an allergic reaction, or if you are taking a dose that is too big. Um, I don't know what dose you're taking, but unless you're not having an allergic reaction, it should take a long time for side effects to develop. I just started to have some pain and itching. Um, that's normal actually, and it's listed as one of the side effects of hormones. Yeah, I think I'm having allergic reaction. Yeah, I think so too. Could be that. Because actually, I don't know what you're taking, but at least Progenova, which is estrogen that you can take. Itching is one of the side effects of that uh, medicine. So if you're experiencing that, it is recommended actually that you go off it. Is it possible to go on HRT when having allergy? Um, you could try different types of hormones. Try like different brands, but it's if you're having this type of reaction, I would definitely recommend it to be monitored and not be taking it on your own. But I realize, in your situation might be difficult if you cannot do it with a doctor. So yeah, it's a shitty situation to be in, right? Um, yeah, because like I said, if you're developing side effects this early, it's most likely an allergic reaction, or it could be a sort of nocebo effect, which is the opposite of placebo, which is sort of you read about the side effects and you're starting to panic about it, and you're actually experiencing those side effects. because something like that happened with me, right? And it turned out to be just psychological, actually, because I was convinced that I was having a blood clot in my artery because of HRT not long after I started it, and it was all in my head. So uh, Arno Norke asks, would you ever go back on gender affirming hormones? Good question. Would I? Well, first of all, I think there's a big difference between going on hormones and transition as and living as a trans woman. And I have to take such things into consideration, such as well, if because I'm post-op, uh, there's a risk of developing osteoporosis, right? So technically, I should be on some hormones, but having really, really bad reaction to testosterone. And honestly, estrogen is also not that good for me. Really, I'm having brain fog from estrogen. But hell, if I was in a situation where I had to choose, I guess I would go on low levels of estrogen, I suppose, at this point. Uh, but there will be some things I would be afraid of, I guess, such as developing breast tissue. I wouldn't want that by any means, and I consider myself lucky that I didn't have to get any top surgery to remove anything because I didn't have a lot of breast tissue growth. So I consider myself lucky. Um, but yes, it is something I have considered, and actually I have been thinking about it quite a lot. Because it's always been sort of relevant. So that yeah, that thought has been going through my head to like take estrogen quite a lot, actually. But as in going back to living socially as a woman, no, that's not me at all. Just doesn't feel like myself in that role at all. Mm. Uh, Takoka Mari asks, healthcare in Norway is so bad, it's laughable. Well, yes. um, I mean, there are places in the world that are worse, probably, but actually, yeah. And uh, I did a conversation with a trans person from Norway not that long ago. And yeah, I also read his book recently, and I also a few years back, around 2016, I also was pretty engaged in what was going on because trans people were like forcefully castrated, sterilized in Norway. So I just like, well, yeah, if you wish to transition in Norway, you have to go all the way. There's not like this is what works for me. Hell no. You want to transition, remove your testicles, remove your ovaries, and so on. Um, Klaus Clever says, "Is it weird I watch your contents to feel better about my life?" Um, not at all. I make my content to feel better about my life. Actually, I I make content because it's sort of gives me something meaningful to do with my life, and I found out that I really really love making content, uh, both for myself and for others, really. Hvis vi actually wrote a comment in Norwegian. Jeg veldig elsker Norge, og så jeg vet ikke hvorfor det jeg lærer norsk. uh, So you're learning Norwegian. How long have you been learning Norwegian? Klaus Clever. Thanks. Keep on keeping on. You too, mate. You too. Actually, I'll have to go soon. Because this live stream's a little shorter than some of the previous ones we have done, which were like 2, 3 hours. Biscuit tea since about a few months. Good luck, Likatil. I have also been learning Japanese for a few months, which is fun. Wish I had a chance to go to Japan and talk to Japanese people because I think that's the best way to learn. I think that the best way to learn the language is really to just jump in into the middle of the ocean and learn to swim. Uh, yeah, 10 minutes a day for lunch. I think it's a good rule. If you have any rule that's just like do at least this a day, that's really cool. Actually, I have a rule like that for me when I'm writing this book to write at least one page a day. Um, I can write more than that, but because if the book is going to have 360 pages, let's say, then I will be done with it in a year max. Pretty much less than that. I've been writing for half a year now, actually. So Uh, and I wish I could visit Norway. I hope you get to visit it one day. Like Komori. Actually, I can't read kanji, so I can read hiragana. So I can read what you wrote in hiragana there. Um, sukoto ga deki dekimasu ka? Um, I'm not sure what that means actually. Suko. Biscuits tea. I tried to learn Japanese alphabets, but gave up. Taco Mario Fling. Thank you. I really don't think I am, but yeah, I can try say something in Japanese. Correct me if actually it's so cool that I have someone in Japanese who speaks Japanese here in the chat. Um, uh, 両親に猫は可愛いです。So I tried to say that my parents' cat is cute, and she is actually she's in the new video I recorded while I'm visiting my family. So it will be ready uh, this for the next week, and she's in that video actually. Uh, Cross Clever, do you ever think about a basketball stadium full of fans yelling "D-trans" instead of defense? That is a thought that has actually never crossed my mind, to be honest, not once. But I have seen this video on YouTube maybe 1 year ago where there's like football fans yelling and there's subtitles like 15 different versions of what they're saying, what this sounds like, and you're reading that and you're thinking, yeah, that's actually what it sounds like. Tako Komori. Again, I'm only going to read hiragana because I haven't learned kanji. Uh, Tekuda, Tekudaki. Uh, no, I'm not using Duolingo. Actually, I started with Duolingo, but I don't really like Duolingo. So I bought this book for learning Japanese. I'm going with that, and I'm using like different sources on the internet and also learning from videos as well. The first cat, cute. Uh, Ga kawaii. Uh, Oh, thank you so much that you actually wrote it all in hiragana for me. That is so so helpful. Ryoshi ni uh ga kawaii. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. You'll be so good one day. Just keep at it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Um, trying. So, do you live in Japan? Or because actually Japanese cuisine is my favorite. Um, Okonomiyaki and gyoza are like my favorite dishes to make. Unlike Rikshospitalet treating trans people with dignity. Well, well, that would be in for a shock if that happened. Or do you live in Norway? Because well, if you're aware of Rikshospitalet, I don't know. Do you live in Norway or? My boyfriend is Japanese. Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. That's best way to learn the language, isn't it? Really, I think so. That's like the best. I've two best ways to learn language is to really have a partner who speaks the language or move to a country where they do speak it. L asks, did you have a heterosexual boyfriend where you were a trans woman? Yes, actually. Didn't really matter to him, to be honest. Okay, I'm here for the final 5 minutes before I go because I'm going to watch something with my mom. And did you like the experience with him? Um, depends what you mean by that. I think it was a learning experience. I think it opened a certain door. I was never. I was 19 at the time, right? So I was never intimate with someone before. However, well, as an experience as a whole, yes, but I wouldn't go back to him. I don't think I would go back to any of my exes really, and actually, I have been, yeah, it's been like 9 months since my last relationship, and at the moment, I don't feel like getting into a relationship at all. And Biscuiteers, I wish I could talk to you again. Um, Feel free to send me an email. And I don't know if you've been here from the start of this live stream, but I did a little announcement that I'm actually uh, talking to people, detransitioners and trans people alike, doing sort of a study on to find out what kind of treatment is best for whom based on their unique experiences, because I don't really believe in a one size fits all solutions. So and uh, you can choose to be anonymous, or you can choose to use your name, and some of them will be included in the book with the permission of the people I'm interviewing, of course. If you have Instagram, I can follow you. I do actually. I use it very rarely. I'm never on my Instagram, but uh, uh, I think it's the same as my Twitter username. So if you find a link to my Twitter in my description on YouTube, and you search for that same name on Instagram, you will find me there. I hope that's helpful. Okay. Thank you guys so much for stopping by, and I hope you all have a amazing Christmas. And if you're not celebrating Christmas, have an amazing weekend and week, and Happy New Year to everyone. I just realized this is an interesting combination: Santa Claus hat with the Soviet Union flag in the background. Can't go wrong without it. Biscuit tea, I do celebrate it. Klaus, clever, you too. Happy holidays. Thank you, likewise. Yep. Happy Christmas, happy holidays, and happy New Year. Um, I will be uploading a video this week, or I mean next week, and then I'll take a little break from YouTube. I don't know, maybe 3 weeks, maybe a month, and I will write intensely in those 3 weeks or a month, and then I'm going back to doing YouTube, and I'm starting from. I'll be back in like mid of January, I think, and I'll do. I'm starting this new series of videos in January, where I'll be going through a book chapter by chapter in each video, sort of discussing the themes discussed in this chapter, and yeah, it's sort of an analysis. Oh yeah, I'm not talking about my book, of course. I'm not doing it before it's published, but like other books. I'm not going to say which book I'm starting with, but it's a book that has been one of my favorites for years. Yes. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Have a good day.